Hey everyone, I wanted to put together this tutorial to kind of walk you through the portfolio program and discuss what it's all about and how you can work to improve your playing. So ultimately, the portfolio, let's start with the overview here. Okay, if you click overview, by the way, I encourage you to go to classwork here on the portfolio because there's a list of topics. Everything you need is right here. The stream's not as well organized, so the best place to go is to classwork. Under the overview, there's a document here that kind of discusses what this is all about and the different parts of the portfolio. But essentially, there's a nice statement here. Musicianship is a superior skill art form that is learned through structured individual and ensemble study. So that's pretty much the heart of it. In the portfolio, there are a set of benchmarks that work as kind of a pathway, a structure for you to kind of work on becoming a better player. It's kind of like having a private teacher, all in this one document. There are a set of musical goals that you're going to think about and work on each month. We'll do that in band. At the heart of it are these five benchmarks. Now, there's five benchmarks for wind players, woodwinds and brasses, and there's five benchmarks for percussionists. Okay, so you're going to work on different skill set, obviously, as a percussionist and the woodwind player. The five levels, I've named them to make it a little more fun, but level one is going big. Level two is next level. Level three is like a champ. Level four is amazing, and level five is pro. Okay. There's also a certificate that will be presented to you as you achieve all the benchmarks. And I also have a resume that you can kind of keep, a document that you can kind of keep and track your progress as you're going through our band program. Ultimately, the outcome is we'd like to see you, it's set up so it's as a resource so you can develop musicianship, great musicianship. So let's take a look. Again, the benchmarks are the primary source for here, as well as the corresponding music that matches the benchmarks, which we'll talk through. So when you select the benchmarks, you have all of the benchmarks listed right here. The wind players, benchmark 1 through 5, and percussion, benchmarks 1 through 5. Okay, now I put 5 benchmarks together. I was going to do 4, but it doesn't necessarily have to reflect freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year. There's more than that. So there's 5 benchmarks, and it also allowed me to cover different keys. So benchmark 1, first of all, it says I recommend study. The wind players, you're primarily working out of a method book called I Recommend. It's a great book, covers all aspects of playing. You'll see that there's categories, major scales, and you'll notice that there's 2 major scales per benchmark. Number 1 covers E flat major and F major. Now these are concert keys. Okay, so if you play a clarinet or an alto or an instrument transposes, it might actually be a different note for you to play, but as you're aware, we're referring to concert pitch. Okay, so then there's arpeggio studies, there's minor scale studies, chromatic studies, interval studies, meaning I'll play my scale in thirds or fourths or fifths. There's an etude section, which is essentially putting like songs together. There are rhythm studies. There's exercises in tonguing, single tonguing and double tonguing. We're going to practice learning songs by ear, and there's some tuning exercises. So that's what makes up the benchmark. And how it works is, let's say you want to work on your E flat major scale. Okay, you're going to go to page 7 in the book, and there's 3 exercises I'd like you to complete. F major, page 8, 3 exercises. Okay, so let's look at those exercises real quick, and then I'll go back to percussion. So what you're going to do is sheet music wins right here. All the instruments are here. Let's say I play the bassoon. Okay, here's some advice on good bassoon playing, and then you're going to go down to page 7. Okay, you'll notice there's page numbers on top of the pages right there, page 7. 7, 8, and 9, I'm sorry, 6, 7, and 8 are the 3 exercises chosen for E flat major. So there's one, obviously an easy one, just to kind of get nose to the pattern. And then immediately we're working on our technique. We're working on our fingering and developing speed, although I advise you to learn them slow at first. You're working on articulation. Sometimes they're slurred, sometimes they're tongued. There's some staccato, there's some dynamics. So you're working on expression as well as technique. Exercise 8, we call them excerpts, by the way, exercises, is a different pattern of the scale in triplets. Okay, so there's all kinds of exercises, whether in major, and again, you can refer back to specific numbers. Let's see, scale studies. Okay, they have majors, minor scales, chromatic scale passages, arpeggios, 1, 3, 5, 8, basically, scale degrees, interval studies, fourths, fifths, octaves, thirds. So there's all kinds of studies. And then there's etudes in here as well. Again, refer to the specific benchmark. There's an etude. It'll direct you right to what page and what number to work on. Okay, so there's a good idea of how the wind benchmarks work. By the way, the second, excuse me, let me go back up here. The rest of the benchmarks, here they are. Benchmark 2 through 5 are very similar, but same book, but they're working out of different keys. Benchmark 2 focuses on C major, G major. Benchmark 3 focuses on A flat major, D flat major. 4 emphasizes D and A major. And 5 focuses on G flat and E major. Okay, so again, similar studies and working through your different keys. Okay, good musicians can perform proficiently in all those keys. Now, percussionists, let's look at your benchmarks. Now, you're a little different training. There are some snare technique training, some timpani technique training, and some mallet technique training. Okay, so yours works similarly. There's a page number and a pattern that you'll be working out. Okay, and to complete benchmark 1, you're going to be working through all of those exercises in snare, timpani, and mallets. Okay, because a trained percussionist should work on all those 3 big instruments. Now your sheet music's right here. It's going to look a little different because you have 3 instruments. There's a snare etude book. Okay, and there's a mallet book, and there is a timpani book. Okay, all with different exercises related to that instrument. So you're going to do similarly. You're going to choose an excerpt to work on, an exercise. You're going to look for the page number and the exercise. Okay, so for instance, if I'm going to work on my snare, I can work on page 52, let's say, number 1. Let's say I'm working on that. I can go into my sheet music, go down to my snare here, go down to 52. It seems like a long way, but it's only right here. 52, exercise 2, exercise 1. Okay, so there's all kinds of exercises for you to work and develop your skill set. Okay, so on the portfolio is discussing assessments, rhythm too. Okay, so benchmark number 1 includes this rhythm. You've seen these before. These are our rhythm sheets. And it'll say a couple specific lines that they want you to play. Now, we're not going to clap these. We're going to actually play these on whatever given pitch, concert F, concert B flat. You're going to play the pattern in time. Okay, so that's the rhythm study. And a couple other things listed on the benchmark. Let's see. Okay, these are all I can recommend study. There's our rhythm assessment. Double tonguing and triple tonguing pattern. We worked on this in band, but basically you're going to demonstrate this pattern going down the E flat concert scale degrees 8 through 1. Song by ear. Okay, you're going to choose one song by ear. There's a whole list here you can choose from. If you want to do a different song and learn it by ear, that's fine too. And tuning. All right, so that's basically how this works. Again, tuning, we talked about it in band. I don't want to go through that right now. Now, to complete a benchmark, you do have to complete every exercise on the benchmark list. Okay, you only have to do one song by ear. Okay, the tuning. You'll see that there's a down here. You can write what date you completed it on. You can keep track on where you're at. Now, when you're done with an exercise, the idea is you're going to practice it, you're going to record yourself, and you're going to post it. You'll notice here it says benchmarks 1 through 5, percussion benchmarks 1 through 5. What I've done here is for each assignment on the benchmark, there's a corresponding assignment in the classroom. Now, I do have to tell you that because, let's say, benchmark 1 has about 20 different exercises, you'll notice that they don't all show up on your page view here. And the reason being is that the software is just not strong enough to handle all those assignments. So what you have to do is you actually have to scroll down on the right here. Scroll down and scroll up, and then you'll find that they do show up. So this is exercise 1 we talked about, benchmark 1. This is page 7, number 6. Okay, so when you've recorded that and you want to get credit for it, you record yourself playing, and then just post it right here under this assignment. Page 7, number 7, you're going to post that one here. Page 7, number 8, post that one. So these are all of the excerpts or exercises for benchmark number 1. And if you want to get credit for completing the benchmark, every exercise you do, you record yourself and you post them here. So it's all under this one big assignment. Now, in order to complete the certificate, you do have to complete every exercise for benchmark 1. Okay, when you've completed benchmark 2, you can go over to benchmark 2 and post all of those assignments and so on. Okay, so that's how it all works. Now, like I said, you do receive a certificate for completing each benchmark. It's good for something you can post on a resume item as a player. You'll also get credit in our concert programs as completing the benchmarks. You'll get a little asterisk next to your name or some kind of indication. Completing benchmarks is optional. Okay, this is not a requirement of the class. As we discussed prior to this, completing goals is a requirement, but the goal is just selecting one exercise a month. Okay, and eventually you'll be working through your each individual benchmark. Okay, so that's how the portfolio works. It's a series of benchmarks. It's a pathway for you to kind of focus your training and your practice to become a better player. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to meeting with you guys and helping you through your musicianship training.